it's just like everybody's not podcasting to get 1 million followers and sell 1 million times. So some people are just doing it to kick it with their friends.
Right.
Like this is for a mom that can meet every Friday to do a podcast and get away from like her day to day and come talk, like just talk crap with her friends and drink tequila. That's a break.
What up, though, Black Friday family? Welcome back to another installment of Black Friday's podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I need you to hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, send a video to a friend, and make sure that you tap in with the dope previous guests that we've had on the show. Now that we got that business out the way, we got family in the building. Want to welcome the homie JG, the founder of Audio Wave Podcast Network. What up, though?
Thank you for having me, Denzel. I feel like I'm trying to remember everything we said the first time. You know how they say it? Like, did we talk about that?
This is a true podcasters.
No, but thank you for having me, man. It's actually, like I told you before, this space is so iconic because of the work that you're doing in podcasting. Like it's phenomenal. So I see all the interviews and it's just like, you always got to use this room. Like it's like the wall speaks for itself. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why we had to have you on. So you done IG Live, you did a panel for me before. Whew. We host events together. And then I realized
the panel one was like probably my favorite. That was like real off the cuff. Like I had on a hoodie and hoop shorts.
Right. Like literally just pulled up off the vibe.
And Crocs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was a fly fit though. Like, yeah, it was a good time too.
Summertime.
Yeah. Good summer vibes. I was just coming just to talk to podcasters. Yeah. I didn't think I was gonna speak, so it was just like, oh, this is dope.
And now we finally got you in. Got you in person, man. So, so I wanted to start with part of the journey that you always talk. I hear you talking to other people about. Now I know this story myself is that you helped put a podcast mic in front of Detroiters circa 2015 when that era of podcasting really started to turn the curve from people who were like. Traditional media have been doing it for a long time, and then people who were starting to develop their own brands, independent things like that. So I know about that time period and then up until now and what you've been doing in podcasting, which we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But I want to start with, how did you even get into podcasting, media, broadcasting? How did that even get on your radar? Was that something that you were trained in or interested in back in the day, high school, college, whatever the case may be? Or was this something that was a new opportunity and then you seized it?
So yes and yes and yes. It definitely was a new opportunity. I definitely majored in broadcasting in college. I majored in radio and television in high school. I went to DSA. So we had this random class. It was like media communications. And my teacher was like, I don't know what to do with this class. It's up to y'all. So I was like, all right, let's turn it into a business. Like, let's do skits. This is like when YouTube is kind of on the bubble. I went to school in the early 2000s. So this is probably around 2006, 2007. So like YouTube is kind of taking off. We got these new MacBooks, like these new iMacs and equipment in DSA because it's a brand new building. So it's like, let's put it to use. Let's do skits. We did not one skit, but we had a company. It was called Circle TV. So we did do a fashion show or something, but that was like that peak of like, okay, like I could kind of run a media company. And it's like, I can't mention any of the people that like I idolized when I was a kid because they're all probably facing charges. So,
never meet your heroes.
Yeah. So, like I idolize those companies like Def Jam and like how they had like their hands in everything. A clothing company, they had this, they had that. Bad Boy, like they had all these things. You see, I ain't mentioned none of the names, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Like they had their hands in everything. No pun intended. And I like progressing through like college. I kind of like let it go. Like, we did like little videos. Like we was on house parties, so we'll do like little skit videos. But in 2014, I got cancer. So I was like down. Like it was like I was out of, and this is before like remote work was a thing for real. So I was like off work for like 3 months, like going through treatment and things like that. And then it was just like I had to buy the time. Like I had to do something to kind of take my mind off of things. So I started listening to like a lot of the loudspeaker shows. So like Combat Jack, The Read, Brilliant Idiots had just came out. Like these shows are like just starting out. Like this is the first episode of Brilliant Idiots. Like I seen Taxstone happen. Like I seen these moments in like podcasts, especially black podcast history happen. And it was like, I'm like, oh, I could do this. Like I can really get active in this field. Just because of the ability to talk. Like I know I can, like you and I could talk about any subject right now and make it a podcast, you know, because we have that ability. So buddy of mine, Brandon Gore, came over and he was like, what are you listening to? Because we playing video games. I'm just listening to like Taxstone or something. And he's like, have you ever thought about doing this? I'm like, it's funny you should ask. Like, let's do it. He was like, let's do it about Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. I was like, skirt? What? Like, I ain't never watched these shows. I'm like, bro, I'm not about to, these nerdy shows. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, but he was like, no, we're going to do a YouTube series and then we're going to base that. We're going to take the podcast from there. So I was like, I got nothing but time. Let me try it. Flew through all these seasons. I'm talking about, I think Game of Thrones at the time might have been on.
It was still active at that time. Yeah, it was still
active. Yeah. So I binge watched that, catch up. I binge watched Walking Dead. I'm caught up. I'm like, oh, bro, let's talk about it. Like, I got a story. So we started this YouTube channel called Los Lobos Negros. I didn't pick the name. My homie Brandon, I think it meant like the Black Wolves.
Okay.
Cool. Like, but it was like, I love doing it because it was like, I'm telling these like these stories from like this really East Side perspective. Like, you know, like I'm talking about the Lannisters, like, oh no, that's the bank. You got like, so I'm talking about this from like my point of view. So just in like these conversations, I have to have surgery again. So we kind of took a pause and then we do like this Sweeties Day, like holiday episode thing. Cause like the holidays was coming up. So, you know, it's like, what should you get your girl if you've been dating in these categories? Real like male, not real like crazy. Like you go look it up, it's still up. I could keep it up because I ain't say nothing crazy. But just explaining like, all right, you've been dating for this month, this is what you get. If you've been dating for this long, this is what you get. So at the end of that, I said like, our podcast is coming soon. This is October, October. I don't think we released the podcast into June of 2015. So it was like, it never really happened, but when it did, it was like, we went flying. That was when I started learning how to kind of navigate like marketing and business, because it was just like all these companies never heard of podcasters. So, but it's like, I want to get sponsors. Like I hear them talking about Nature Box or HelloFresh on these shows. So how do I tap into those markets? And all I did was take if Nature Box is the big one, I'm going to go to Boxes of Nature, the competitor. The competitor or like the startup. Like not even a competitor, because the competitor is like, all right, I'm trying to get them. Like y'all ain't got the numbers like them. So it's just like, all right, well, let me go get the startup. So like companies like, a lot of y'all may see it now, it's like an energy drink called Uptime. They were like struggling in Michigan, like competing with Red Bull, Monster, all these other companies. I'm like, well, send me some cases.
I got you.
I'll put it on everything. Like this is the way I feel my day. So I'm just posting this almost every day. He literally, I had owned a cell phone repair store at the time. They literally will. That's because it's random. Like it's like one of those random moments in history. Like I own the store. So they're bringing a minivan pull up and just bring me cases of energy drinks. So it's just like from there, I go into this like, well, if I could do it for us, I can do it for everybody. And that's kind of what birthed Audio Wave Network 2015, 2016.
Love it. And real quick, before we get into my favorite part of Black Friday, which I know you're familiar with, I won't say it just yet because I got to do my drop, my normal drop. But what is it like for you? So you started the podcast network, and what is it like for you having a network? And if you don't mind, give us a little bit more insights to the network, the shows that you have on there, and what you do with it.
What is it like to have a network? It's variations. Like I feel like right now it's a resurgence.
Actually, let's take a step back.
Go ahead.
What is it like? What is a podcast network for people who may be listening? They probably heard like, oh yeah, podcast network, blah, 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 blah. Break down JG's definition of what is a podcast network.
So a podcast network is almost like a one-stop shop for your podcast. So technically, when you need help with production, when you need help with, they take over your production, your editing, you show up and you be talent. As a podcaster, you show up and you come in as talent. You sit down, whatever, if you have the show written yourself or if it's assisted written by like the producers in-house, then you just come in and you become talent. So that's handling marketing, sponsorships, editing, sometimes writing, any sort of branding kits or I could be forgetting a bunch. I handle everything. It's we take over like from production to upload. From production to upload, we usually handle completely everything. So that job, like I said, it can be tiring sometimes, but it's what I love to do still. It's still what I love to do. And like I said, right now, it's always waves. When I first started, it was just creative. Like, hey, everyone wants to start a show and start. So 2015 to 2018, it's all about creating. Like I'm not worried about marketing. I'm not worried about really sales or anything because we're on flames, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like the sponsorships are taking care of themselves. The marketing is kind of taking care of itself because we're this such vast entity in the city that it's like I met you through there. You know, like I'm meeting all of these connections and people that it's kind of handling itself. And then like the pandemic hits, and then that's where it's like pandemic hit, TikTok hit. It's like all these things happen, and it's visuals go from not really having visuals to everything had to have a visual
or never happened.
And this is 2019. So going into the pandemic, it's like if you don't have a camera to say this happened, it didn't happen. So that took away like the comfortability that I had. So it like I think that first part was like white fire. It was just like, it was too hot to touch. It was so easy. The events was, all right, we here, we at Queens, we here, packed out. It was we having a live show here. It's no room, like no standing room for real. So, and then it goes to the pandemic, everything shuts down. So a podcast studio where we fellowshipped and made things feel comfortable.
Now I can't see you.
So I think for me, it was a slow adjustment, like a slow pivot where it was just like that white hot started to be like a little light flicker, like, and it was humbling because I'm not operating on a sense of how do you maintain business? I'm having fun in a sense of we're creating. Like that's if you could tell me like, hey, all you got to do is show up and help people create, cool. I don't have to worry about the marketing. I don't have to worry about the sales, the gaining new business. I don't have to worry about these things. I would have been the happiest camper in the world. But you heavy as the head that wears the crown. So it's like, you want this position, work for it. And that's where now I say we're probably 4 or 5 years removed from the pandemic. It's like I've stayed afloat, but at what cost is it staying afloat? You know, like it's what does the next chapter and the next chapter look like for you? So it's sometimes hard. Like it's hard from all angles. Like the physical toll. Like I have 2 kids. When I started, I had 1. You know, like the emotional toll. Like it's sometimes you like I've been like they stole all the equipment at one point. You know, it's we've moved 3 times, maybe 4. It's these things that make it such a trying experience, but it's like, hey, Tanisha Arnold, Gina, I'm still here. Like that's how I feel though. Like it's trying, it's emotional. Like it really is because it's, I've been doing it going on 10 years now. Like, it's like this is my 10th year. And
that's crazy to even think about.
It's hard to like, all right, like, where do we go next? Right. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I got follow-up questions for you for sure.
Let's talk.
No, we're going to get in the Freestyle Friday. So, yeah, it's time for you to rap.
I came with my bars. So you do I rap and then you rap, or like how we gonna do this? You don't want to say no bars?
No, I ain't planning on saying no bars.
On, Tigger. Yeah,
I rap and I rhyme. I rhyme and I spit.
I almost said a cuss word, but this my started a wave, then we almost drowned. Go look in the bin, because that's the lost and found. Woo! Come on, man. Let me get back to my main job.
So we gonna do rapid fire because you know it's only like 4 bars. So yeah, we definitely gonna get a rapid fire.
Good bars,
but yeah, it was solid. It was solid. Yeah,
I could really drop a mixtape.
Exactly. So I need to know, who do you feel like, JG's opinion, who's your favorite podcaster or like favorite show all time? It could be mainstream, could be indie. Like what's your favorite show?
And this is no slight to any city shows or any shows that I work with. I say Combat Jack. And I say God bless the dead, Mr. Reggie Osei. Combat Jack, because not only did he pioneer Black voices in the podcast space, so the Read, like that's where like the Read was on Loudspeaker Network. His show, Combat Jack show, Tax Season, like these shows are kind of the pillars of Black podcasts. So for sure him. Culturally, I would say I also say Cocktails with Cocktails. That's like probably one of the greatest shows I created as far as numbers. Like the sex sells. sex sells. Authentically Detroit, that was a podcast that I helped produce in the beginning stages. Like I really have like and theatricals, man. Like I'm really getting into that bag. Brownstown, Bronzeville with I dropped my phone. Bronzeville with Idris Elba and like Lorenz Tate. Like they're real actors on a podcast. There's no visuals, you know. Yeah. So it's like getting into that bag is definitely. I wasn't rapid though. My bad.
That's fire. No, it's all good. It's all good. What, aside from randomly owning a cell phone store, I ain't never heard that before. Listen. But what is your most random job that you ever had? Because I know you be hustling. So what's a crazy random job you had?
I don't think it's random, but like I was a teacher. Like I don't think I was ever meant to be nobody's teacher for real.
You teach people how to do
but it's different.
Podcasting?
Like having kids, like it's like shout out to all my students because somebody is gonna watch this or share it. But I didn't really think I was teacher material. Like
Got you.
I don't have a filter. Classroom, no classroom. So that was a random job. But the cell phone, like I used to fix cell phones. That's how I got a cell phone store. I used to fix cell phones.
Okay.
So cell phone repair technician. I could still crack open the iPhone and get busy.
And how did that even come about?
My first job was Radio Shack.
Okay.
I went from Radio Shack to working at Sprint. And then from Sprint, I wanted to be a technician because they didn't have to sell. I hate selling, to be honest. So gotcha. I wanted to be in the back just fixing stuff. So I learned how to fix phones. Like I taught myself how to fix phones. Now, actually, the most random job, I was a cell phone technician in a random warehouse in Livonia. I couldn't have my phone in the back, and I just had to fix phones all day. Like no... That's where I also developed the love for podcasting too. Like it furthered my love because that's all I could do. I could only listen to podcasts on a computer. So it's like when like Serial was first coming out and like the This American Life, all of that stuff, like those real like documentary style podcasts, and that put me in a different bag for sure. That was like binge watching podcasts. So it's
very interesting. Okay. Speaking of that, in terms of that, one of your skills is fixing phones. So holla at JG if you need your phone fixed. It's premium price now though.
I ain't gonna lie. To get me out of phone retirement, my daughter's phone is broke currently. Like I looked at broke it over. See, get these kids back in schools. But yeah,
what's the skill that you would like to pick up that you haven't had time to dedicate to just yet?
Listen, I've been trying to get you together. I need Adobe Premiere. Every time I try to use Adobe Premiere, it crashes for some reason.
Okay, I got you.
That's really it. Like I have skills in editing and other editing software, so it's like I'm good. But it's like the Adobe.
You know
Premiere,
what to do, but it's the platform.
It'd be like, yo, what is going on? Like, yeah. And it's like no matter how many YouTubes or TikToks and TikTok just came back for me, so it's just like I think it's something about my brain, and like I need to watch somebody do it to be like, yeah,
for sure. I got you on that.
My dog.
And what's something about the East Side you want people to know about? I know you're a huge East Sider and champion of the East.
That's where black people originally from in Detroit. So
I thought you were gonna say like that's where black people originated in the world. I was gonna say, I'm like, oh, we might have to wrap this up.
I mean, listen, God made man. No, but it's like it's a special place. Like the East Side is really. I know we have our bias from side to side, but to be honest, like. I stayed on the West Side. I stayed on Finkel and Schaefer for a minute. Like, it's like my dad stays on the West Side on Finkel and Schaefer, so it's just like I don't go over there. Like, no, but it, to be honest, I really love where I'm from, just because it's a very tough part, but it's also like it creates character, and it's like so many people come from the East Side, and just like I love the city of Detroit in general. So yeah,
got you. Well, appreciate you for partaking in Freestyle Fridays. You did very well. So we got a lot of good insight. So I want to take it back to when I first met you. Shout out to the homies over at Wild and Woke, B-Rose, Silky, that whole team.
I feel like you were on like 4 episodes. The Collabs was having parties like every month. Like,
that was the era, man. It definitely was the era.
I was about to move the studio in that building too.
Oh, and thank God you didn't, because that turned out to be
listen, it's still a finesse job.
Hey.
Yep.
But that's a whole nother podcast series.
Yeah.
But
uncovering finessers.
Uncovering the finesse. Just walk up people with the camera and the microphone.
What's like Charlie LaDuff? Like that's what
pull up on them.
Shout out to Charlie.
Yeah, we got to investigate that. We got to find some talent for that. But met you through the homies at Wild and Woke, and you were, as far as the network goes, obviously, having the opportunity to develop shows and then also work with people who came in with shows and, need studio time and stuff like that. I want you to talk a little bit about what it's like in terms of helping either produce shows and or be in the production behind the shows and what that looks like. It's work that you still do today from like the audio and visual aspects. So just wanted to know if you kind of talk about you getting into that bag, because I'm sure it's a lot of things you had to learn along the way in terms of the technical, and then also, just working with folks as well. But
I'm glad you said it. Like when I first started, like when we I don't know if we had a table when you first came in. Like we had like a table and like getting around. Yeah. I was Joe Jackson. And it's like it's no cutting about it. I literally didn't really know how to deal with people. Like I expected everybody to kind of work on my brain. Okay, it's like, why are you even posting your podcast? Like everybody in your contact list should have your podcast link. And it was just like, hold on, like reel it in, buddy. But I had this show. This was early on, called Tequila Talks. Like I think we was really close to getting a tequila deal too. This is when Antil like kind of first was launching. So it was just like, I don't know if it was Antil, but we had like, it was like Capristi or something. It was like the tequila deal we almost got. But it was just like my persistence. Like I didn't know how to accept people for where they were and what they looked podcast as. So I think me and you had this conversation before. It was just like, everybody's not podcasting to get 1 million followers and sell 1 million times. So some people are just doing it to kick it with their friends. Right. Like this is for a mom that can meet every Friday to do a podcast and get away from like her day to day and come talk, like just talk crap with her friends and drink tequila. That's a break. She's not thinking of, I need to, when I leave here, I need to make sure I post it 1 million times. So I had to reel that in. And when I did reel it in, I learned to not only work with people better, but congratulate people. So that's when I started the award series called The Wavies, where we did like within the network, like Podcaster of the Year, Studio Fresh, whoever coming to the Studio Fresh every time, like most engagements online. Because now these awards are kind of taking the place of me having to be Joe Jackson. Because if you want to be the best podcast or the most listened, then it might come with 3 free months. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or it comes with rewards at this point, where it's like before I'm just yelling, and not really yelling, but it's like I'm having this take of where I'm not giving people the opportunity to, one, come have fun, and then 2, just grow naturally. Like now I believe it's like just grow naturally. And then the other part of it, like the production aspect, it's, you experienced it, right? Like say for instance, we got this far and you never hit record.
We almost got there.
That happens. You know, that really happens. Right. And as a person, I've made countless mistakes like that. It's because you gotta think, it's you dealing with your show only today, like this week. I might be dealing with like 6 that I need to edit. Like put the visuals together, or like I may have lost a memory card, or I remember I was editing something and the memory card literally broke in my computer. And the girl was right across from me that I'm editing for. I was just like, I lost your show. It wasn't, I can give you next month for free, or I can give you a refund, but I lost your show. It's gone. And it's never a good way to have to break that news to somebody, because you're a business and you want to be reputable. Y'all know the word I'm trying to say. Yeah. you wanna put out a good product and good content. Even now, it's like my visuals are looking out of date. So I have to update cameras and upgrade equipment. And it's like you teeter on like, dang, is this still work? Do I still love it? Do I still love it enough to have to pay $1,000 to get the right cameras, right, or whatever the case may be? It's always those things. But I think what keeps me in it is just like the people. Like I like working with people. I like people to come in and tell their story. Like no matter how crazy it is or how ghetto I might think it is, it's like, no, I want to hear it. Like I want you to put it out and put it out in a way that you having fun. Like if somebody's like, oh, I want to be famous, I can't help you be famous. Like I can't give you fame. Right. I could make sure you putting out a good product, make sure you having fun, but like fame, like I can't be like, all right, you gonna get 1 million followers. No, like that's not possible. Well, I can't say it's not possible, but it's like it's not likely. Right. Man.
Let me ask you this. So I feel like one thing you're really good at in terms of just production and the network and working with people is getting the best out of them in terms of the content, whatever it is that they may be talking about or aspiring to do. Do you have like a secret sauce to doing that? Because like we got the same birthday, so we're able to connect on that. But I can understand some of your tendencies when it comes to just being business minded, working with people, stuff like that. And I know it could be, difficult, like you said at first, where it's like, we need to be hustling, trying to be the best. But I think that you definitely have found that sweet spot to identify, okay, I know what I can play around with some things or know how to interact with you to try to pull out the best of what it is that you're trying to do. Is it a science to it? Is it something that you kind of got to coach yourself in your mind to do, or is it just natural for you?
A little bit of both. Like a little bit of all of it. I think it's definitely natural. Like I definitely think I have an ear, especially when it comes to podcasting. Like I've seen so many different podcasters. Like I've probably seen at least 100 different shows, like literal shows. So, and everybody that comes through my studio that I've edited for don't ask for my opinion. So it's just like, you remember the theory? I don't know if you watched it. I'm sure you watched Temptation. You're from the city.
Come on.
My bad. But Barry Gordy was like, would you spend your last $5 on this, or would you go buy a sandwich? That mindset always stuck with me. Like, if I'm on a drive for 40 minutes, would I rather listen to a playlist or would I pick your podcast? And that's kind of been the mindset that I've adapted to, like knowing what to be heard. Like, and it's not, my wife is a big podcast listener. So I know like what she listens to. Like I could tell like, okay, nah, this ain't gonna hit. Like I always can put myself in the position of the audience and be like, this ain't gonna hit for these reasons. Yeah. And it's more of I know how to help you pivot. Like I've seen shows that's why I always tell people, just come record, because that'll give me like, okay, listen, you talked about these 10 topics today. You came alive on topics 3, 6, and 8. Let's base the show around 3, 6, and 8 and flush it out. And it's not really, I can't say that it's difficult, but it's knowing the person, like understanding people. Like I know people. Like I don't say I'm good at any job in this world, but I know I can understand people. Like I could read a room or tell when like this ain't hitting. This person is uncomfortable during this conversation. This person is tuned out. Like so especially when the studio, like in the beginning days of Audio Wave, I sat in a room with people while they recorded. Yeah. So it's just like I'm looking like, and I always looked at my phone. I never really looked at the people because I could throw you off. Like if I'm looking at you while you podcasting, it's like so I always looked at my phone, but then I'll look up and look at who else is looking at their phone. Like who else is disengaged in the conversation in this show, our podcast? Like he looking up where he about to eat at. Like, so finding out how to pivot this to where it's like, okay, like I can make this work for everybody.
So in your expertise, what makes a good podcast? What are the components to an actual good show?
That's crazy. You're trying to put me out of business. No, but and this is to anybody. I don't care what your subject matter is. Consistency first.
For sure.
Consistency.
For sure.
People are going to rely on you like they rely on their check. I promise you. And even if it's 5 of them, those 5 people are waiting on you.
I need to get that notification that your show dropped this week.
Those 5 people are literally waiting on you to drop a show. Like I've been on the other end at like a long office work day, especially when you sitting in the office, this pre-pandemic, and you're waiting on a podcast to drop, and then you look on Twitter and they be like, we not dropping an episode, or I'm about to leave work. Because now how do I get through this next hour and a half? Because I was relying on you. Right. So consistency is the biggest thing. And then it's content. Like, what are you talking about? Like, don't give me Breakfast Club, Joe Budden podcast, Joe Rogan, and lip service opinions on your show. I can go listen to them for that. Don't regurgitate what you heard. Like, I understand how easy it is, though, because we live in a very influential time. So it's hard to, if you're going to talk about our inauguration, don't use any of their like I don't want you to say the same things they said. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so easy to get into that bag of I heard it was a great point, I'm gonna make it here too. It's like flip it. Like it's not that hard to say something the same way somebody else said it, but just flipping it in a different manner. So that's consistency, content, creativity. How are you evolving? Like, how are you evolving with not only the times? Like I told you, my show, equipment is expensive. Like, so it's I have to invest in it or I get pushed out. Like you invest in it or you get pushed out and you archaic. Right. So is that, but then it's also, how are you like, if everybody's moving to visuals and audio, and say for instance you brave enough to stick with the audio, what are you doing to
diversify yourself? Yeah,
diversify yourself to combat that people want the visuals. How good is your show that it can just remain an audio? You know what I'm saying? That's huge because I believe in audio podcasts still. Like I don't think it takes away from anything.
True crime podcasts are the most popular podcast that's out right now.
Facts. Yeah. But it's also everybody is not stationary to watch you. Right. So it's like how do you still bridge that gap? Like I tell people all the time, release your visual, go release your audio too. Like it doesn't cost, it costs you something.
Because you got a visually appeasing show, which I know a lot of people worry about, but the content could just be doo-doo. Ain't nobody listening.
Yeah, it's like, all right, your show looks sweet. Like, it looks sweet as hell. Y'all got neon lights and great mics and the backlight.
Got the drinks going.
Oh my God. The couch is velvet. Right. Like, cool. Y'all talk about boo-boo. Like, y'all telling me $200 dates and splitting rent. Like, all right, cool. I've heard it. So it's even like that content that I always tell people, like, listen, if you're going to go $200 dates and splitting rent, give me a new twist on it. Right. Like, give me something that I've never heard before, ever. Right. Because cool, it can make for a great topic, it can make for a great show, but it's like, what's the substance behind it? Mm-hmm. So it's like, how creative can you get in that lane? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's people just sometimes be duds. Like, I feel like everybody can podcast. I promise you they can. Yeah. It's just, what's your subject matter?
Right.
And that's it. It's finding your lane. And you don't have to box yourself. Oh, I want to talk about everything. Cool, like cool. But what's your spin on it?
Right.
I had a young lady. This idea is free for everybody. But I mean, and also don't feel like people stealing your ideas. Like it's like, relax. Like just create it. Like it's okay.
I always tell people, can't nobody bring what you can bring to it, even if they were to take it.
I had this podcast concept where it's like hotline. Like it's like. Call, but she actually takes calls. So everything is based around hotline. The segments are all based around telephone stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like who's on hold? Just hang up, like what's your hang up topics of the week? Like just little nuances that really hit home. Telephones, hotlines. Where you can put any subject matter in it. Like you could talk about $200 days, you can talk about splitting rent, but it's literally in a segment. It's in a segment where it's like somebody serving you something different, like the same food, but it's like, oh, why you got your chicken gold like that? You know what I'm saying? It's the 24 karat gold chicken or burgers or whatever. You know, it's the same topic, just wrapped in gold because you took the time out to separate yourself and get creative.
Right. Lil Wayne has told us that L stood for something different 457 times. So you just got to re-rock.
You just listen. Just keep going. What you got. Exactly.
What's a good sign? Well, not necessarily a good sign. Well, actually it is. What's a good sign that you need to reevaluate your content or your show for people who may have been doing it for a while? I'm starting to kind of feel that in terms of just like I have over 100 episodes, like I start to forget episodes. And then other people who have been, making it past that mark, I think they say that majority of podcasts don't make it past 3 episodes. And then like you really know you doing something if you at least able to hit 30, just in terms of consistency.
Man, so 30 is the magic number. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a bunch of shows that can't hit 30. I've seen a bunch of shows that can't hit 10.
It's tough. It's very tough. But like, how do you know it's time to reevaluate? And then also, for people who may not know, you also had a podcast for a very long time, NWP. Yeah. And so you're talking from experience. It's not like you just a person behind the camera. You've been in front of the camera multiple times as well. So like, when do you know it's time to tweak things?
All of kind of the things I mentioned. When you showing, it's hard too. When I feel like this is different. Because you're interview based, right? So it's like you go based on your interview. So it's like sometimes even you might feel a love, like I can't really find nobody I want to talk to or these things. So it can get difficult in like almost self-doubt. Like, like self-doubt. When you're like with an ensemble, like NWP was, it's like an R&B group, bro. Like it's like everybody got different personalities. We can't get show times together. Nobody want to promote the show. People just like, but those are my real friends. It's like
for sure.
It ran its course.
Trying to get 4 or 5 people to do anything collectively in synchronization is tough. How many how many trips ain't left group chats? Man, what?
I'm planning one right now and it's on the teeter. But the point I'm making is like it's hard collectively, you know, like NWP, that's the show I mentioned. Like that's kind of how I got my start in podcast. Well, that's how I got my start in podcasting. It was easy because none of us had kids. So getting together on Friday nights, this is easy. Like, you know, and then like I think I was the second one to have a kid, but it was still like, we're in the middle of like, that's when we started. I think episode 9 actually, it's called A Shot of Breast Milk. Obviously for obvious reasons. I had just had a kid. So I'm telling the story of having my daughter on episode 9. I think NWP ran for like 340 episodes. So it's not like we didn't like have a great, we came back and did my son's. So it's like it's been ebb and flow. It evolves. It gets harder. Your subject matter changed. I think for my show in particular, I couldn't be everything I was in the beginning because it made me not love it anymore. Like I couldn't be the marketer, the person who got the sponsorships, the like the person who wrote the show, the person who uploaded the show. Yeah. Like it was just like, bro, like because by the time the person that hosts the show, so it's like I host the show and then I'm pointing to my friends to give their segment. So it got overwhelming. Like I needed a producer, so I needed a JG essentially to be like, hey, here's y'all show for the day. Good luck, for like good luck. And it was just like we didn't have that, so it was difficult. Like it became difficult. It's not totally out the water that it will never come back. It's just at the time, like right now, we just don't have a producer. If we had a producer, we rock tomorrow.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I think that's where, so if people are feeling stagnant or like they don't know, it's when you start like showing up half-assing it, essentially, like it's like that.
That's a telltale.
I'm just here to be here. Like I'm here because these 5-10 people that listen are anticipating. I don't want to. Hey, where the pod at, bro? Yeah. Like, it's like, bro, don't wear the pod at me, bro. Like I ain't got it for you.
Yeah.
But no, shout out to everybody who still asks me where the pod at, bro. One day you might get it.
For sure. I'm pretty confident y'all gonna definitely go, whether it's anniversary episodes, whatever.
It's like y'all when you're getting older, it's like this is our 10-year anniversary. So it's like I feel like a 10 episode special might be warranted.
That'd be fire. Yeah. Put that out there in the universe.
Be done.
Yeah.
Like,
most definitely.
Pack it up.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
What do you feel like the podcast scene is here in Detroit right now? What do you feel like it can be? And we talked about this in personal conversations because if you all don't know, myself and JG host a podcast, Pull Up. So we got more coming for y'all in 2025 where we got creators, we got fellow podcasters in the city pulling up, having a good time, mixing, and having an opportunity to get this
I feel like the espresso martinis for the next one was easy. Pull. I was like, yo, I got it.
Yeah, we got it. You got to make that happen for sure.
I'm going to make it happen. What was you said?
Oh, so what's the state in your mind? What's your opinion of podcasting in Detroit right now? And then what do you feel like podcasting looks like in the future? And we could stick to, it's Black Friday, so let's talk about it from a black man's perspective, the black podcast.
I hate it. And that's being honest. Like I don't hate everybody. I get
what you're saying. Yeah,
I don't hate everybody. I feel like
the state. You hate the state.
I hate the state of it. You was around that time when it was like these shows like #Eastside, Wild and Woke, Pretty Lit, like, and I'm not talking Shop Talk podcast, like these shows that like from scratch with Mark. It was moving. It was consistency. You had hitters every week. Like it wasn't like now people will be like
here and there.
Yeah, they'll podcast for a week and then they done for a month. No, I swear. It's like, and I'm not talking about like client. Like one thing I want to be clear. One thing I want to be clear too is like podcasting is a great outlet for me. It's a great business for me. It's not financially business, but it's a great business. I got a day job, so it's like the podcast money. I don't really be like, oh no, y'all ain't coming to the studio, y'all ain't spend. It's not that at all. It's just where's the shows? Like where is the staples? Like that's not just on YouTube. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's. I don't like to call people shows that's just on YouTube, not podcasts, but it's
technically it's not.
Technically, it's not. You have it's like at the technical definition, it's really not. Yeah, you have a web series, and I respect it. Like I don't even want to call I feel like I have to stop calling my studio a podcast studio because of people are into creating content, not just podcasts anymore. So that's kind of why I hate. Like it lost the what do you call it? The nuance that it had. I think visuals kind of mess podcasting up to me. Like I think visuals and what people expect of like the visual space, it messed the authenticity up of a podcast. Like that just coming in and not caring what nobody's seeing. Right. We just in the studio, like it's a good time. Or even virtual, like that not really caring, what the visual aesthetic look like, and it's more of like what's the content, bro? Like that's what I like. We talked about it. Like everybody want to have a cutesy space. I understand. The set design list is long because they want backdrops, this velour. It's long, but I know that that's what the times are calling for. Like it's not something that's lost on me. What it is it ain't this ain't sweet, bro. Like it ain't like this is great. Like this feels organic. Like it's cameras on us, but we're having a conversation. Right. It's like people it's just it's getting too much, and that's what's I think affecting people's creativity, where it's like, oh no, I gotta have this lit and my cameraman gotta have a 350 frame. It's like, bro, listen. Like,
you gotta scale it back.
Your show ain't that good. Like, let's start with the intro. Like, what's up? This your girl that doesn't work anymore. Right. Like, and that's usually my first critique about what's up? This your girl, or what's up? This your boy. It be like, bro, like, can we stop with these 1999 radio intros? You are tuned in to the hottest. Like, bro. All right.
You ain't got you just be you. You ain't gotta talk like that. You ain't gotta talk like that.
It's okay.
So if things could be a little bit more consistent, a little bit more thoughtful, just in terms of the content that you're putting out there, because at the end of the day, if you got a show, whether you're doing it for fun, whether you're doing it for business, you want eyeballs on it, you want ears to listen to it, because there are people, whether you know it yet or not, there are people you're trying to reach, specific people, a group of people you're trying to talk to. If things could be a little bit more thoughtful in the Black podcasting space in the city, where do you think we could go in the future if people weren't as focused on visuals and pay a little bit more attention to like content and things like where could we go?
That's a crazy question, because I don't know. Like, where do y'all want to go? Like, it's, like, to be honest, like, we're like, we talked about NWP. The satisfaction I used to get from just like 2 hours with my friends, like having a conversation, but having a great conversation or arguing about something, and like those, like that's success to me. You know, like everybody's podcast success is different. Right. You know, like and I think that's a question for like the masses. It's like, for me, ideal podcast space is cool. Like we got multiple studios. Like that's ideal. Like it's multiple, you know, networks, or it's multiple people that's trying to push culture, like, and giving people a space. But it's also and it's also getting back to like live shows. Like I don't think I've seen a podcast live show that's from the city
in a long time.
Yeah,
we could change that. Yeah. We're going to change that. But
you know what I'm saying? Like that's like that's tough. Like I remember we was almost touring the city, like where it. So
even mainstream podcasters, they I remember I was going to buy tickets to All the Smoke. I know that It Is What It Is coming here.
I ain't gonna lie, I be hating that.
All the Smoke, they canceled their show, and another podcaster had canceled their show too. So it's like,
because it's also like, who wants to pay to sit to hear somebody talk? Like it's like,
it's not the same energy it was back then. It's not the same
energy. Like but it's even with like these celebrity tours. It is what it is. Come here, right? Are y'all performing? Like I just want to hear. I could watch y'all come on every day during the week. I can literally watch y'all then. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, what am I getting that's specifically to the city if I come into the show? Like there's no knock to those podcasters.
I see what you're saying. More specific. Yeah. What the city, like voices of the city, putting on for the city.
I'm gonna tell you where I had a concept. This is we going into January 2020. Right? So everybody put your mind in January 2020. We living carefree. I just turned 30. Oh man, I was living my life. I was about to do a tour, Midwest tour. Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee. The problem with like these shows, they're not pulling in talent from the city. So all I was gonna do was, say for instance, it's Cocktails with Cocktails, Black Friday's podcast, and then 3 other shows from that city. We all just gained a new audience because we brought the people from their city out. Right. That's it. You put it in like a bar, like on a Thursday. Yeah. Cool. Bar dead. Hey, look, y'all got a sound system. Cool. Let me plug this in. hey, y'all, we're coming to do this show, promote this show. It's the easiest concept in the world. But when I tell you, like, the shows that I had shows in Milwaukee, shows in Cleveland, shows in Chicago, none of those shows even exist anymore. Because, like, not only the pandemic, but just like trying to keep a podcast going for years is a hard thing to do. And I commend a lot of people who've made it 3, 4, 5 years. You know, that's a feat, because it gets real sticky where it's just like, all right, at what point do you switch from I'm doing this and having fun to where now this is I need to make money from it because it's stressful, or it's like, you know what I'm saying? So those things kind of shift the narrative.
Right. Do you think that you have to truly love it in order to stick with podcasting to that point?
I don't think you got love it.
Because I think that I think about it the same way you do, because so I enjoyed some of the technical aspects of it. It's an opportunity for me to express creativity, things like that. So it's more than just being about like talent and like the conversation. To me, I like the whole package and like what it brings. And I think that you are similar. But I'm just thinking, like, for somebody who just like, I just want to start a podcast with my friends, or I'm doing this because of X, Y, and Z. Like, do you feel like you truly gotta love it or be truly invested in it to see that type of longevity? Or can you power through it if, you know, you got different motivation?
It depends. It really depends on a lot of factors. Like, and I think one being a show content. Yeah. Like you, for instance. Like, it's like, do
you enjoy what you're talking about?
Do you enjoy who you're talking to? Gotcha. Like, at what point do you feel like you're plateauing on like guests? I was like, all right, am I just bringing anybody on to fill the Friday? Right. Or is it more like a cocktails? It's like, where's the limits? Where's the boundaries? And it's always looking at just your creativity. Like, you gotta love it. It's part of you gotta love it, because y'all have kids one day, right? And it's like, what does this look like for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does your time look like? Like, how now it's just one day turns into like a 2-day process, because now you probably got to record on Tuesdays because your baby get out of daycare early on Thursdays. So you like, everything changes depending on your life. So you have to, some of you have to love it. Like, I still love it, or I would have closed after the break-in. Like, it was like, I'm on the news crying. Like, I would have been done then. Like, all right, y'all got it. Like, I retired. Like, I think I deserve that, right? But it was something like the love of it, the love of the game. Is like, no, I can't let somebody else put in my time. Like, it's for me. Like, it's for me when I hang up my jersey. But it's also like moving into space to space to space. You gotta love it. Tough. Like, dog, I've been doing that shit by myself. Like, and if you see my studio, it's living room sets. Like, this is not a 2 chairs and tables something where I fold up. It's 3 couches. You basically 2 chairs. An apartment. I'm moving an apartment 4 times in a Durango. Like, it's like, you know, so like the last move took me about 8 trips, and I had to put all this stuff in my house because the new studio wasn't ready. So it's like that level of dedication and grit. I gotta love it, or I'm just circling the drain at this point. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So tell me about the new studio in terms of the new space, and then what you got going on there, and the services that you offer at the studio.
See, I told you, not got me thinking about my move by myself. I was about to cry that day. The new studio is at the Casual Stage, legendary, incredible, historic space. Casual Stage is on Casual and Warren. It's, when I say it's literally just a historical vibe. Like, this is a space, I live literally around the corner from it. But not only that, but to have the space inside of this building I passed so many times. This building, you always had 2 sound stages, 2 recording studios, this. Like, it was like a big sign. When it was for sale, for years. I remember that sign removed, and I called, was like, hey, do you have a podcast studio? Because it was on their website. And it was like, nah, we're trying to start one. I was just like, well, hey, look, I'm looking to move into one. So this has always been like a dream space. I've been asking about this space for years, having a network, because I used to want to own the space. Now I look at the space, I'm like, I'm glad I don't. Like, it's a phenomenal space, but just owning a building is crazy. It's a lot. And then the other part of it, like the test lab, is where the home that everyone knows us from. The reason, it was like a weird landlord situation in there, and that's why I moved out. But it's like that building is back available. It's like, all right, do I put 2 studios around the corner from each other? But I don't, let me not get too far. But I love the new space. We're getting into just more voiceover work. So audiobooks, actual voiceovers, like for people that are like submitting for like cartoons or whatever they're doing. Like people come in and just do voiceover work. So we're getting into more of that, like more of like the audio space, but it's also, we're opening up to just creatives to come through. Like the space is large, and it's room to kind of design how you want it to design for any type of set.
Now tell me about the concept that you have coming up in February for Valentine's Day, the campaign that you're doing right now.
Oh man, so people suck at giving Valentine's Day gifts, and I want to address it. Like I want to kind of help y'all out, and I think it's a young lady or a young man or somebody that doesn't identify as either that wants to start a podcast, and they've mentioned that they want to start a podcast. And I think if you've heard that, then you should get them a Valentine's Day gift card. Like book them not free podcasts because you pay for it, but book them podcast sessions to believe in their dreams. Like push their dreams and everything forward. Do you believe in my dreams like Coretta? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's very important to not only show somebody, like this is a nice gift card. You can put it in something that I can email it to them. Whatever, I can pull up. Like I'll pull up like the publishing house. Like for my young audience, y'all know what that is. Yeah, come on now. Like you get free podcast sessions. They pay for it. You good. Come on. Like, but it's really to get people to record, man. Like that's my gift of love. Like I don't really care about the prices. It's more of just like, let's get people in. Like let's get people in and really not necessarily create the feeling of 2018, 2019, but let's create that energy that I'm talking about, where like shows are consistently not like, I used to record a show, send it to them, and then when it came out, I used to listen again. It's like now I feel like that feeling I don't have that feeling no more, because it's like people aren't consistent enough with their content. It's like, oh, I'm gonna drop a show this week, and then like, what happened to every other week? It ain't that hard, man. It's like, I feel like it's not hard to drop a show every week. And if you get Do You Believe in My Dreams like Coretta, that's 4 sessions. Like record once a week and drop. Like it's like, what I think it's like me. I'm used to shows like this once a month, or we come back every season. Like everybody got seasons now. Cut the seasons out. Like
do the show or don't do the show.
Don't do the show. Like get the show done. Welcome y'all to season 18. Bro, you only been podcasting in a year. Like, it's like how we
every episode a new season.
Hey y'all, sorry for the delay. I was busy. Like, all right, man. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like the culture around podcasting is just so, but I get it too, because sometimes people feel that it's oversaturated. So that oversaturation is like can be a mood killer. Like it's like imposter syndrome. Like I understand. Listen, y'all, it's okay. Record it. Run your race. Like that's it. Run your race. Blinders on. Like you ain't got to Usain Bolt it. You ain't got to look back. Just focus on you.
And as a note, you don't have to do your show weekly. You can find a rhythm network for you and be consistent with that. If you're going to do monthly, if you're going to do every 2 months. I ain't going to
lie. If you're doing your podcast every 2 months, you lost me.
That's a fact.
Yeah, like you lost me.
That's a fact. But if you keep it, I ain't gonna lie, if you keep it super specialized, and I know every month, the first of the month, your episode dropping, I could get with that.
The first of every month, like once a month, cool, because it could be, you could be interviewing the president, like not the president, one of the old presidents, but you could be interviewing somebody important. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, all right, we get this once a month.
We getting 12 of these a year. That's it.
Yeah. Cool. But if you just up the street and we talking about dating and weather.
Yeah.
Come on now, don't and then don't also release me like don't give me these super old episodes either. It's like, come on, man, get these out the chamber. Like release your work.
Drop your content.
Drop your content, man.
Drop your content. So, is there anything that you see on the horizon for Audio Wave, for JG, things that you aspire to do in this year and the future?
Man, yeah. I won an Emmy. And I think
you won an Emmy, or you won?
I won an Emmy. Okay. Yeah. Oh no, if I won an Emmy, it'd be right here. First of all, hey, you think
like address me as Emmy award winning JG?
Matter of fact, my name is M. But it's literally, if I won an Emmy, it's going everywhere with me. Like I swear to God, it's going on tour with me. Like it's gonna probably get lost. Like, but I'm literally sitting it on every table. Like everywhere I go, put my Emmy down. Oh yeah, that's just me. That's me. But I think I'm gonna win. I don't think I'm gonna win the Emmy. One day I'm gonna win the Emmy. Because we're getting into this theatrical bag, and I think
Swipe Right
is coming.
Yeah, Swipe Right
is coming. 3. The season 2. See, you give me more seasons. See? So Swipe Right is coming. We actually got 3 coming. We got Swipe Right, Dead Air, and Reparations. Theatrical podcast coming. All within this year. If you interested in voice acting and any sort of like, I'm not doing Joe Jackson. Like, we just had you read it over again. If it don't sound good, it's like, all right, try it this way. Like, yeah, it's fun. Like, it's literally one of those things where we come in and it's been rooms of like 10 people and we're just reading the script. Like, you could, and Swipe Left, please go listen to Swipe Left. I think we should get an Emmy for that one, actually. It was like my first time really voice acting. So being able to play with a script and like add jokes and make it funny, but then also make it super serious and sad, because part of the character that I played was based on me. So like my character had cancer. So it's like I'm telling them these stories and I'm like crying. So it's just, man, it was a great time. And I think that's a new wave. That's one of the biggest new waves of Audio Wave that we're doing. Secondly, we're doing I don't want to call it a pitch competition. It's really a just record day. Like it's really like whatever the excuse was, whatever it is, whatever. It has to be a new show.
Show up and record.
It has to be a new show. It has to be a new idea. It can be a new show from an old podcaster, but it has to be a new idea, new concept. But just show up and record. Like, I'm putting slots out there. It's gonna probably be like a weekend thing. I want to get like some podcasters in there to make it a vibe. Like, I want to get podcasters in there to make it a vibe. Like, people who actually are in it and consistent in it. I want to get back like, hey, here's our feedback. So really, we'll probably be in the back having a good time listening to these people podcast and eating, drinking, chilling, and really providing some great feedback for people to see if they want to stick with it. But that's like that's coming probably February. I want to kind of wait till the weather break. So I don't want no excuses.
You don't no excuses.
Listen, it can be a monsoon. You better get to paddling. But I want to give people this free opportunity just to create. Like, if it's one thing I'm good at is telling you how to pivot a show. Like, all right, this could work, but try this.
Do that, yeah.
Like, that's it. And then we go from there. Like, we go from there. Like, I'm not doing it for the money grab. It's going to be completely free to the people. I'm going to probably lose money because I'm going to be spending money on, like refreshments and things like that. So, but yeah, that's going to probably be toward, like, the end of February, beginning of March. Just to give back, to try to increase return the feeling of podcasts to the city. For sure. Which I don't think we're returning, but I think we're creating a new wave. Yes. So create more of a new wave. So yeah, those are kind of the main initiatives. Also just getting back on stages. Like I feel like a big push of mine is Podcast in the Park. That's a concept that I think is dope. I think it's just finding the park and just one Saturday just doing.
Is that something that you basing that off of? Like you seen somebody else do it, or that's just the idea that came to you?
In my mind, yeah.
Oh, we gotta pull up the Beacon. We gotta pull up the Capitol. We gotta pull up the campus.
Listen, come on now.
We gotta make that happen.
So that's like a plan of mine. Like I wanted to do like a tour park a park tour, this summer. Just taking podcasters. So like these podcasters is probably going to start in this competition, like kind of helping them, not competition, but starting because it's about to turn into making a band real quick.
Making a band.
But actually we did that. We did Making a Wave, which was phenomenal.
You going to walk and get these conies or you going to get out my studio?
I actually didn't make nobody walk. We created some fire shows from there. Like shout out to everybody that came from that.
Okay, so it's about to run it back then.
But yeah, but it's more of just like, I don't want it to be competition. I want it to like maybe it is competition. Maybe I give the best show from the day a free year. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But these shows that are currently recording and everything that's currently going on, it's like, let's pop up in parks. Like it ain't nothing to get like a collapsible stage, put it out there, get speakers and we make it a little park day. You know what I'm saying? So
1,000%.
Yeah.
So everybody who interested in that, if they want to get the Valentine's Day opportunity for their loved one, if they want to tap in with the studio and launch their podcast, how can they find you?
Denzel has been on me. I don't know why my website is always down, but it is. Denzel be the Squarespace say expired.
Right.
Listen, it's
you know I build websites.
Yeah.
That's pet peeve.
Yeah. Listen, I understand, brother. Listen, it be on the wrong cars get locked. It be on the wrong car. And
you're the homie, so I can't let you go out like that. So I'm like,
I just be sitting there like, oh, it is. Like, but audiowavenetwork.com is never gonna. I put it on the credit card, so it's never gonna go away. It's just like, go ahead. Audiowavenetwork.com. Audio Wave Network on social media. Everybody Loves JG is my personal handle. Kinda, they usually do. I might have some enemies these days.
Everybody, you gotta put that allegedly at the end.
Yeah, allegedly. Everybody loves me allegedly. Yeah. You know, I used to say everybody loves JG because they do, and it was just like, nah, they don't. They only love me for my pimp. I'm just playing. Shout out to no shout out to Nelly. It's like, how many names have I?
We ain't got no more legends. We gotta go back to the Isleys, man.
And they get you work for R. Kelly.
We ain't got no legends.
Hey, man.
Ain't got no legends.
Hey, it's all good. You see your heroes turn into villains right before your eyes. But no, I think podcasting is overall, like I said, it's in a bad space. Podcasting is in a good space. It's in people figuring it out. People doing their best. And that's all we go for. Like,
but you want to help bring that juice back
come
to
on
the
now.
city.
Like, let's get to where it's like we got hitters. Like, we got hitters for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember like y'all was doing podcast tours for events. Like, I don't see that anymore where it's like I'm seeing one person or one group of people hit 4 shows. Yeah. And it's like, where did that go? Like, where did like podcasting being the source of information kind of like where you learn something about somebody? Right. Like and I think a lot of it is also people don't work at home. So people watch TV now. They like, I ain't listening to the podcast no more. So, but still create people. Create new content.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you pulling up to the podcast, my brother, because we had the conversation before I started the audio version of Black Fridays. You was the first person I called. I'm like, hey, man, how can I make this work?
We did have that conversation.
You
still in Seattle? Where were you in Florida?
I just got to Seattle.
Okay.
I was new in Seattle. I probably had been in Seattle maybe a year at that point in time. And my part of the conception of the thought, or at least me doing a podcast, similar business focused podcast, came from a show that you had on Audio Wave, and it was a lady that used to work with her at Quicken back in the day, and so she did a business based show, and then
what was the show called?
I can't remember.
The 14%.
14%. The 14%.
Shout out to Joyce Massey.
Yes, shout out to Joyce. I used to listen to the 14% religiously. I'm like, oh, this is dope. And I really like the concept and things she talked about.
Hits, man.
And she did it solo. And so, being able to start from there, talk to you about the show, get the guidance on that, and then kind of be where I'm at now, it's definitely dope to be able to see you finding your love and your groove in terms of being in this industry again, and then also evolving Audio Wave and sticking with it, because we share that love of podcasting and have an opportunity to express that in different ways. So appreciate you pulling up this show. Appreciate you being a partner in this podcast game, crazy, man.
You made me like,
you're gonna keep this going.
It's like the hitters that bruh. I was putting out classics like it was the 90s and I was a rapper. Like we had classics. We had classic shows. Shout out to all the shows now. Especially the ones that transitioned from those times. Listen, bangers.
The roster was on point. The roster was on point.
Man.
So appreciate you pulling up once again, my brother. And then we definitely will have to have you back. And y'all gonna see us. Like I said, we got some programming coming up 2025 Q1, most definitely. And so be on the lookout for that. But everybody listening, everybody watching, we're gonna tap in with y'all soon. Peace.